This is Hannah, my wife. Come on up here.
Yes, I do. You know what? It's amazing because when I just came into the hospitality suite, I mean, this is where I did a lot of my AMT in my first year BSSM, 7 years ago. Wow. 2010. And one of my prayer and the desire of my heart was, God, please bring more Asian nations to BSSM because there was too few of us at that time. And so for me, to be able to see your faces are answers to my heart's desire. So I was going crazy over there because I'm like, God, you are so faithful. Yes and amen to family here. So thank you guys for this honor and privilege to come.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
We'll have her out here again. Yeah, thank you guys for having us. It's funny because I think going back to our first year, 2010, we try to have this, and I think our friend Yuda from Singapore, you know, like sent the message out, and we got together over at Simpson University cafeteria, and you know, I think there was like probably 10
of us.
at that time from all over, kind of representing Asia. And then, so to see this, amazing. So, big, you know, hands to ARC. I'm sure there's a lot of other people involved, you know, to make it happen. And so, I'll give you a little intro about us so that we're all kind of on the same page. And then I've been kind of praying about what to share with you guys. I'm teaching at AMT right now on family reconciliation. Our ex-wife, Luki, was in there. She's just crying every day. Which is awesome. I mean, that's what you want to see, right? And he came up and invited me to come and said, you know, I would love for you and your wife to share something on reconciliation. And two thoughts went through my mind. And one was family. And then the other one was nations, right? And if you think about it, it's a very broad spectrum. Family, nations, right? And I'll go more into detail, but there's one key element in both of those spectrums that needs to be given a lot of attention to, okay? And so I'm going to talk about that today. And hopefully, you know, just give you some encouragement. But a little background about us. We're Koreans. Yeah. Which is funny because, you know, again, growing up in America, like, we came in the 70s, my wife and I. And so we've been in the States over 40 years, right? And, you know, when you first came to the States, you didn't want to be Asian, right? I mean, you didn't want to be Korean. It was a little bit embarrassing, right? And again, yeah, you know, I know the identity and all that, but you know, it wasn't like a cool thing. Okay, now it's changed a lot, right? Which is kind of like mind-boggling because I'm seeing all these white people in here too, which is awesome. And I'll share more in detail why, you know, that's so important. But anyway, so we've been married 23 years, or going into our 23 years, and we have 5 children. Our oldest is 22. She just graduated college. She's working, and I think she's gonna go to grad school. My youngest is 15. She's a sophomore in high school, and so we have a whole range of kids. They're 18 months apart, and so we had children right away. And so if you do the math, right, married 23 years, our oldest is 22. So she wasn't a honeymoon baby, but, you know, it was probably like 3 months into our marriage. And we ended up celebrating, well, we had our daughter before we even celebrated our first year anniversary. Okay? Yeah, and I mean, into the ministry we went, and, you know, just it's been a journey.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. And so, how do we end up here? How do you end up here? Right, in Reading. And so 2010, we moved out here. We were in Dallas, Texas. So guy sitting right here, Andrew, he was my youth student back in 2004. 2004, yeah, 2004. My goodness. And so I've known him for 13 years now. Anyway, so 2010, we moved out here. I felt like God said to do 2 years. And so we're like, okay, I don't understand that. Being in the ministry for, over 17 years before we came out here. But what do? When God says it, you just obey, right? So we came out here, the first year, and then we did our second year, and then we were ready to move on, right? I'm sure a lot of you, they're going like, yeah, I'm just going for 1 year. Okay, maybe 2 years. Right? Some of you are like 4 or 5 years now. Which isn't a bad thing.
No, it's awesome.
All right? Because I think, God has His timing. Okay? But, so after second year, opportunity opened up. I got hired. So, became a revival group pastor. Which was really intimidating, okay? Because, think about the leaders in your life right now. We all kind of like, oh, you're amazing, you're awesome, right? And then now you're one of them, okay? So I remember sitting in our staff meeting, right? First staff meeting. I was like, it was like sitting among celebrities. That's what it felt like. Right? A little intimidating. I mean, they're human. I get that. All right. And I remember Jason Valentin. He was one of the senior leaders overseeing the first year at the time. And it was me, Dave Harvey, Matt Coyle. I think there was one or two other. Katrina Stevenson.
Yeah.
We got hired at the same time. And Jason came over. And he was just praying over us. He said, just be you.
So good. So good.
Don't try to be like us. Don't try to be like anybody. You're here because we need you to be you. Right? Which was kind of a big, burden lifted off. But then it was like this other burden that came on. It's like, who am I? Right? You go through that. It's like, who am I? What do I carry? Like, what do I do? It's that struggle. Okay, and so even being on staff for past 5 years, it was a journey. Okay, I'm going to be very real with you guys, and so it was a journey, and it was a big learning curve, because I always thought that I was very open to the Spirit and not religious. Okay. As Steve would say, let's just laugh at that. Right? And I'll be very honest. Ben Armstrong was my revival group pastor, and I don't know if you guys know his story or his journey. Right? I mean, he's pretty open with it. Him and his wife, and having a kind of a marital affair, right? And he's sharing this in our first revival group meeting in this room. I was sitting right there. And he was up here somewhere, sharing. And this was 2 years of stepping down from the leadership. And then, getting restored. And then it was his year back. And so we were his first year revival group back, right? And he's sharing this story. And I remember going, man, I'm out of here. Heck no. You are not going to be my leader. No way. I didn't pay all this money. I didn't make all this sacrifice to sit under a man who had a marital affair. Right? It's like, no. I want somebody better. I want Sherry Downs. She interviewed us and we loved her right away. Right? And so for like 2-3 weeks, I'm struggling. Right? Because I don't want to be near him. I don't want to sit in his revival group. I'm like, no, man, you're a bad leader. You're a bad leader. I don't care what church did for you. I'm glad you're restored. That you and your wife are doing better. But like, no, you're not going to be my leader. Okay? And so I was very closed off. And, in that 2-3 weeks, again, you process with God. right? More than with anybody else. And I realized that there was still this religious spirit, right? Because I had always been asking God, what does it look like for a church to see somebody fall, right, in sin and get restored? Because we rarely see that. What happens? They leave. Or we kind of push them aside and they're over there in a corner. Oh, hi, we know you. Right? And then eventually we just kind of forget about it, we ignore them. But here's this man who was in the leadership, got restored, and he's back in leadership. And I always wanted to see that. What does grace look like? And God's giving me this opportunity to spend the entire year, and I'm going, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. And I realized there was this still religious spirit. Okay, so I'm sharing all this from day one, 2010 to we just recently stepped down last year or last May. This past May was our last revival group, and so we're right now on a sabbatical, and I'm loving it. Right, we're unemployed, but I'm loving it. We are in the process of praying, and we'll be moving back to East Coast. That's where we're from, Maryland, Virginia area, and we're going to be church planting. Okay, so I felt like, with my wife, because for me, as a father, as a husband, as a provider, I felt like it would be very negligent. It would be very irresponsible for me not to work. Like, who's going to take care of my family? Yeah, I know, God, you're there, but I got to do my part, right? And, my wife is like, don't do it. Just stay home. And I'm like, what? Most wives would be like, get to work, boy. My wife is going, no, stay home, come on, rest, And she's just like that. So I took her advice, and I said, okay, honey, I trust you. All right, and it's been the best thing. Okay. Anyway, so that's just a little background about us, and obviously, I think our life message, what Ark wanted me to share, is on reconciliation. Okay, which has been a huge healing, kind of a journey of seeing it in my own life, in my own, our marriage, with my own children, with my own parents. Okay, so I shared this in the beginning. I said, when we think about reconciliation, two things that came to my mind was family and about nations. Okay, but what is one thing that is common in both of these that needs to be focused on, that needs to be worked on, that needs a lot of healing in order for family and nations to be restored, to see revival. Okay? And so you're probably not going to want to hear this, but it's you. It's me. It's us.
Yeah, so good.
It has to be. Okay? It can't be somebody else. You're here for a reason. I came here for a reason. Right? And obviously God said, I'm going to start revealing some stuff in your life. Okay? And so we're getting the healing, we're getting the tools, we're getting the teachings, and we can't start looking at people or mom and dad, siblings, friends, pastors, worldwide leaders, presidents and kings and queens and going, messed up, man, messed up. It's true, but we are as well. And we're the ones who's getting the healing. Right? The picture that I had as we're worshiping is this place is a greenhouse. Right? It is a greenhouse. So, experiment, take risks, go crazy. Okay? Because it is a safe place. Right? But, what's beautiful about a greenhouse is it's safe. Right? Now, I'm not saying, we're living a bubble. Okay? They call it the Bethel bubble. Like, yeah, you don't know how the real world works because you guys are at Bethel. I beg to differ. I think we know more how the world works because we're in this place. Why? Because we're actually seeing in the spirit. Right? Because when we're out there, we're looking at in the natural. Okay? But while we're here, God is opening our spiritual eyes and saying, I want you to see the spiritual condition of yourself, of your family, of the world. Right? Yeah, so this place is amazing. Okay? So stay here as long as God tells you to stay. But when He asks you to leave, you gotta go. Right? When God, finally said it's time for you, I don't want to leave. Are you crazy? I love the outdoors. Right? I hate the city. I take that back. I dislike cities. Right? I choose this over cities any day. Right? And so, and again, working with 20-some amazing leaders, Mark Brooks is probably the best boss you can work for. Right? He's a father, he's a spiritual mentor, full of grace. Right? Finally find my tribe, find my community, and now I have to leave. Like, willingly. Fire me. Then I got no choice. Right? But willingly leave? Oh man, that's crazy. Okay? So it was a real big decision. Right? Anyway, but again, we got to go when God speaks. Okay? And so I wanted to focus a little bit on us. What do we need in order for reconciliation to happen in families and in nations? Right? Because it begins with us. It begins with us. Okay? And again, when you read through the Bible, Joseph, great character. Daniel is another. All right? Esther, Nehemiah. Now, anybody know what's common in 4 of these characters I just mentioned? What is it about them? All right? Besides, they were great men and women of God. Okay? Yeah.
They were in leadership?
They were in leadership, yes. What else? Before that. Think about their status, okay? Like, who are they?
They served kings.
They were in someone else's country.
They're exiles. Okay? So they were slaves. They were brought in by force. They didn't go willingly. Right? They didn't go, oh yeah, Babylon, let's go. I want to go serve Nebuchadnezzar. He just loves killing people. I want to see that happen. No. I mean, you look at the life of Joseph. Okay? Yeah, Chris talks about, like, you can't share, you can't try to step into your destiny before it's time. You got to mess it up. And we get all that. Okay? So here's this guy who's loved by his father. And he has his grand dreams of becoming a leader one day where everybody, even his own family, is going to bow down and worship him. And soon after that, his life it sucks. It's the pits. He's hitting rock bottom. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Okay? But there's something that he holds on to, all right, which is a beautiful thing. Daniel, the same thing. He served how many kings? 4 kings. 4. And these weren't all good, righteous kings. They were not. Okay? So there was a character that he possessed that allowed him to do that. Esther, same thing. Nehemiah, same thing. So what was it about these people that had this resolve in their lives to say, I gotta hold on to this, I gotta maintain this? You know what it is? It was their relationship with God. It was their intimacy. Because they never, Joseph never goes, what? You want me to come and serve you, Pharaoh? You crazy man? Right? You wicked guy? Do you know my life? I can't wait to go back and take revenge on my brothers after what they done. And he could have. Right? Because they came to him. Okay? And he says, hey, I'm Joseph. Don't be scared. You didn't sell me. I know you sold me, but God brought me here for a reason. This is after like being sold, all right, unjustly accused, okay, unjustly. And so there was something in his resolve, in his character that says, my intimacy with God is never going to change. Okay? He continued to walk in forgiveness. Okay? I'm teaching the AMT right now, and this is a freebie for all of you. All right? Reconciliation equals forgiveness.
That's right.
You gotta forgive. If you don't forgive, you're not gonna see any reconciliation. Whether it's family, whether it's nations. It's absolutely true. Okay? There needs to be forgiveness. Now, can you imagine if Joseph was angry and bitter at his brothers? Angry and bitter towards Potiphar? Angry and bitter against Egypt? No. He couldn't do what he did. Daniel, same thing. All right? Esther, same thing. All right? These people brought in probably the greatest revival in the land to a paganistic, atheistic, God-hating country, nations. Because they decided to hold on to something that was more precious than anything else. My time with God, this cannot change. No matter where I am, no matter what I'm going through. Right? They decided to forgive and walk in forgiveness and maintain that intimacy with God. Through and throughout. Okay? That has been the journey, the story of my life, of our lives. Okay? You know, again, just we got to work on ourselves more than we want other people. I used to, when we got married, I used to pray, Lord, please help my wife. She's a good woman, but she just doesn't get it. She just doesn't see it. Lord, open her eyes. Change her, Lord. She needs help. Right? I mean, that's usually how I pray. Why? Because I think I'm all that, and she's the one that's messed up. She's the one who encouraged us to, we need inner healing, honey. We're really, we're desperate. And I kept saying, no, you need help. Right? I'm here for you. I support you. If you want to go, I'll pay for it. Come on. You get the help that you need, because when you come back, all healed and better, then, man, our marriage is going to be better. So I kept looking at her, thinking that if she changed, she became a better person, that our marriage, that I would be better, and we would be, our life would be better. And if there's nothing that you learn at Bethel before you guys leave here, all right, just take this, one thing with you. It's you. It's you. It's not somebody else. Okay? If you can't change you, you're not going to change anybody.
Oh, wow.
You got to open yourself and say, Lord, work in me. Work this. Help this. Help me. Right? And if you can do this, families, marriage, nations, I see it. I see it because that's God's desire. Right? More than anything else, Jesus says, the Holy Spirit is coming. He will be your comforter. He'll be your guide. Right? He'll be with you forever. Okay? Yeah, so, I love the signs and wonders. I love the healings. I love the prophetics. I love all that. It's fun. It's great. Right? We need it. Probably more in Asian countries than anywhere else. Right? Because we're all just... Who are you? Why are you telling me this? And do I believe you? Right? We're all about that. I'm like that. Right? Maybe we need to loosen up. I'm serious. Right? We're so worried about saving face, Oh, hello. Anyway, so I I will share this portion. How did I walk in forgiveness? How do I maintain this intimacy with God? And it was about 7, 8 again years into our marriage. I'm looking at my wife. My wife is the greatest encourager, my greatest teacher, and she's the biggest role model for me. Okay, because I would watch her and her time with God, and it looks so different than mine. It was like night and day, right? I don't know if it's an Asian thing or if it was just a male thing, but I would go before the Lord, and it would be like reporting, right? Yes, Father. I am ready. Speak and your will be done. Like it was a master servant. And I was okay with that. Okay? I wanted to be what? The good and faithful servant. Alright? And so I was okay with having this relationship with God. Tell me what to do, man. I'm thankful. I'll do anything for you. And I live my Christian life like that. Okay. Well, even into our marriage. But I'm watching my wife, and her relationship with God it wasn't this. Right? It was more this. And I don't know. I think again, I was like, oh, because she's a woman. Right? I can't do that with God. He's a man, I'm a man. She's a woman, so I get that. Right? But I decided to ask her, honey, tell me what your relationship, when you spend time with God, what does it look like? Right? And she's like, Daddy, right? I go before Daddy, he hugs me, and I kiss him, he kisses me, calls me his beloved, and like she's just going on and on about this intimacy, about this encounter, about this time with God, And I was looking at her and I was like, what the? Are you serious? She's like, yeah, like, what's yours like? And I was like, not like that. Speak thy king. And she was like, ew. That's horrible. I was like, what do you mean that's horrible? That's God. Revere Him. Honor Him. He's sovereign. He's the Almighty God. Yeah, but He's your daddy. Anyway, so she mentioned this word intimacy, and I go, you know what? I know what intimacy looks like because I'm intimate with my wife, but how do I become intimate with God in that sense? Is it emotional? Is it mental? Is it a physical? Is it a sexual? I'm sorry, spiritual. You got that? That's good. I was thinking about my wife. Right? Anyway, so this goes on for, I would say, about a good year and a half. And I'm really asking, Lord, what does intimacy look like with you? Because we need to understand that. Right? And 2003, we went and did our YWAM, DTS. We were on our outreach in Fiji for 2.5 months. And one morning I got up, I was up in the roof, top of our house that we were staying at. And I was doing my quiet time, and I was reading through Luke 15, the prodigal son. Okay, and that's when it kind of, opened my eyes. And it's really interesting because when you read through the chapter, there's 3 parables. One is the parable of the sheep, right? 1 out of 100. The second parable is the parable of the lost coin, 1 out of 10. And then the third one is parable of the son, right? Which is 1 out of 2. 100 to 1, right? 10 to 1, and then half. Okay? And if you look at, you're going from animals to money to human life. Right? So Jesus is sharing this parable, and I don't think they were getting it. The Pharisees weren't understanding this. Right? 100, and you lose one, right? The kingdom of heaven is like they celebrate. They're like, what? One stupid sheep? Like, wow. Okay, how about this? If you had 10 coins and you lost one. No, I still got 9. What's the big deal with one coin? How about a human life? Right? And so the value of worth is going up. And it wasn't just strangers. It wasn't just a congregation. It was like your own children.
Yes.
And so I'm reading through the parable, and the younger one says, hey, you know what, Dad, I'm tired of living here. Thanks for everything, but give me my share of the estate, and I'm out of here. Right? My version. And anybody know what it says next, right after that? What did the father do? Huh?
Exactly what he asked.
Yes. Okay. What would an Asian father do? Backhand. Not forward, man. You don't deserve the forward. Right? It says the father divided and gave to his son. I don't know if that bothers you, but that bothered me that day. And I go, why? Why'd you do it? Why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you say, son, no, this is wrong. What you're asking is ridiculous. Okay? Because there's a lot of implications, in between the lines of what he's saying. Right? Inheritance, I wish you were dead, I don't want to live here, give me mine, I'm out of here. Right? The father had the right to beat him, throw him in prison, you name it. He could have done anything he wanted. Okay? But he divided and gave to the son. And sure enough, the son takes it and he says, what? He squandered it. Just like we knew he would. Okay? And so I'm stuck there, and I kept asking, I said, Lord, why? Why did you do this? You're the good father in here. Right? Why did you do it? Why didn't you teach him a lesson? That's what our parents would do. That's what I would do. Right? I got 5 children, man. Any of them came and said, give me my share of the inheritance. I'd be like, what? Ain't got none but no. Right? No way. Never. It will come in due time. Right? And so I'm asking God, and this is what God says to me. He goes, I'm sure the son grew up knowing that he was loved by the father. Every day he probably heard, I love you, son. I love you. I'm proud of you. I bet. Okay? But when the son asked, the father gave. Right? This is what God told me, because I wanted to show him how much I love him.
Wow.
Oh. Man, that hit me hard. Right? I go, what? He goes, I wanted to show him how much I love him. Because that's exactly what happens. He comes back when he's lost it all, when he feels like he has nothing. What does he say? I am not even worthy to be called your son. I give up my inheritance. Okay? So he's basically given up. And when he returns, Father goes and restores him. He's showing him love when he least deserves it. They said that the father saw him in a distance and he ran to him. The son didn't run to the father ran to him. When Paul Manwaring was here, he shared about this, and he kind of gave a different kind of a view twist to it. And he said, in that culture, during that time, right, the reason why the father ran to the son is because if anybody else found the son, knowing what he had done, they could have killed him.